Hey, it's Bobby. This time around, I want to talk about four major schools of prophetic interpretation in regard to the book of Revelation. Um, the first school of thought that I want to talk about is what I call the school of applicability. And what I mean by applicability is like J.R.R. Tolkien, he didn't like allegory. He preferred what he called applicability, and what that means is that you can take the story and apply it to anything that's going on in your life, and pretty much apply it to anything. Whereas with allegory, you cannot apply it to just anything, but it has specific meanings. And this, what I call the school of applicability, it's a school of thought that basically applies the events shown in the book of Revelation to any sort of abstract generality, like good versus evil, showing the ultimate triumph of God's people over the wicked, and it not really pertaining to any specific events or time periods, but sort of taking what they saw in their day, like the Roman Empire, and using it as a figure to represent all the evil in the world and stuff like that. The second school of thought is called preterism, and basically what preterists teach is that most, if not all, of Revelation was fulfilled in the events surrounding the destruction of the temple, the Jewish temple, in AD 70. And there are, I'm sure, a lot of variations and different sort of sub-schools within this school of thought. Some probably have a lot to do with the Bar Kokhba revolt and the dispersion of the Jews from Palestine in the 130s and stuff like that. But the main point is that in their school of thought, Revelation in its entirety pretty much has already been fulfilled, and in early Christian history. The third school that I want to talk about is futurism, and this is the most popular school of interpretation right now. Pretty much most American evangelicals embrace this outlook. It pretty much says that the 70th week of Daniel, chapter 9, is detached from the other 69, sort of like saying the prophetic clock stopped after the 69th week, so that there's a discontinuation, and the 70th week will begin at some point in the either distant or not so distant future. Pretty much they claim that the person who makes the covenant with many is Antichrist, and that 3.5 years into the covenant he'll break the covenant and unleash a reign of terror. In this school of thought, the book of Revelation is pretty much set in this 70th week period, and will take place after Jesus returns in a sort of semi-return, where he takes away his people for the 7-year period, and apparently his spirit too, so that they won't have to endure the 7-year like tribulation, reign of terror period. It's very literal in its interpretation of Revelation, although it does rest on a foundation that interprets the 70th week of Daniel as a period not of 7 days, but 7 figurative days, aka years. The last school of thought that I want to talk about is what's called the historicist or continuous school, and this is the classical Protestant interpretation of the book of Revelation. It does not see the 70th week of Daniel 9 as being separate, and has no notion of a sort of stopping of the prophetic clock, but sees it as a continuum. It sees the 70 weeks as having their fulfillment in Jesus and his Spirit, with the ultimate result of the Jewish people rejecting Messiah, the temple being destroyed, and the people dispersed. It does not see the book of Revelation as a literal, but rather a figurative portrayal of events, after the same sort of fashion as its scriptural prototype, the book of Daniel. And as with the book of Daniel, the chronological time periods mentioned are seen as figurative, a day in the prophecy representing a year in the actual fulfillment. So instead of a period of 1260 literal days, it would interpret it as 1260 years, just as the 490 days which make up the 70 weeks of Daniel 9 must be interpreted as 490 years in order for Jesus to be seen as the Messiah of that prophecy and be able to say the time is fulfilled to those who lived in his day. And in this interpretation, there is no reason to view the events of Revelation as being confined to any 7-year period, and the fulfillment as seen as having begun immediately after John saw the vision, continuing in its fulfillment even up to today and beyond, looking to the Lord's appearing, the resurrection, the judgment, the kingdom of God, the destruction of the wicked, and the ages to come. The events are not seen as abstract generalities either, but refer to specific events in history that take place over specific periods of time. And so in that way it differs also from the more like generality seeking school of applicability.